From Kurtco Media.
Bugatti didn't like fans, didn't have them on.
I guess he figured he was going fast enough and never
Right,
stopped.
right.
Huh?
You know, when people complain about the brakes, I build them to go, not to stop.
That's
you know,
right.
that
That's
kind
what
of,
he said.
Yeah,
Exactly.
just all kind of
exactly.
stupid. You know,
Well, they certainly won races.
Yeah.
Hello, and welcome to Cars That Matter. I'm your host, Robert Ross. There are few car collections as legendary as the one belonging to Jay Leno. That's why we visited Jay in his garage to hear about his collection of historic Bugattis, among other French and German models. As you'll hear, our conversation kicked off at a fast pace as we looked under the hood of his Bugatti Type 38 Roadster. Well, Bugattis are all about provenance, and obviously, you know, now this has been in your collection for 30 years. I mean, it's got its own Leno provenance now, but what a place to come from. Show us what's inside.
Yeah, here you go.
Oh, man alive.
And see, it's a straight 8.
That's.
You know, you always see with the engine turn block, because people do that afterwards. They sometimes did that if it's a show car or something, but necessarily. But you know, it's interesting. Everybody thinks, oh, it's a cubist. You see, but actually, Bugatti employed just farm kids. They weren't real professional machinists.
They were down in the south of France.
And they would do everything sort of as simple and as easy as possible. Yeah. See, this was all engine turned.
Yeah,
beautiful.
beautiful. Block. Was that? Did Murphy do that back when? You think?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. It might have been. Might have been.
Well, there is something
might
really
have left the factory like that.
Amazing. Amazing. There was something certainly architectural about those engines.
Yeah. Oh, they're wonderful motors. Yeah, they're just wonderful cars.
Well, the car that really kind of put Bugatti on the map, I guess, were the race cars. I mean, from what I understand, the Type 35 won more races than any car in history.
I think it's still the this is a Type 37. These are both. You know, it's interesting. This is the first Bugatti I got, and the guy said, you know, it's a Bitsa, but he's very honest. You know?
Explain to everybody what a Bitsa is.
Bitsa means bits and pieces. I mean, it's all Bugatti. It was just put together didn't leave the factory with all these pieces on it. Or so I thought. Okay. Oh. So anyway, I got it from him. I paid $175,000 for it, which is a lot of money at the time. But I liked it and it ran good. And then some of the Bugatti club were in town. They come look at it. There had never been any pictures of this car, so it was thought to be a Bitsa. And then one guy had a book, and this was in it. So it turned out to be original car matching it. It just
unbelievable.
It turned out to be original car. Yeah.
Well, you talk about hitting the jackpot.
This one here belonged to a guy named Robert Dunlap. He was the number. I think it says it's a Bugatti club. See the number 3?
Number 3. Boy, he was an early adopter.
Yeah, he was one of the original founders of the club. And when I got this thing from him, he had bedroom drawers full of correspondence and pamphlets and, you know, just tons of stuff. And it's always a beautiful day in California. So I never really sat down and went through that stuff. And then one day we had like 6 weeks of rain. And I let me go through anything. And I find out this is Pierre Veron's car. Yeah. In fact, when they introduced the Bugatti Veyron, the sport model, they did it in white and blue. And they asked if they could bring this car to Pebble Beach. So suddenly it goes from a $150,000 car to a $2 million car. Fine with me.
Well, sure. The provenance
with me.
The provenance was serious, and Veyron, of course, was one of the greatest, Bugatti racers in history. Right.
But they're wonderful to drive. I mean, very light, and just the opposite of Bentleys. I love that era when every nation had its own characteristic.
Yeah.
Like when you look at my Oldsmobile Toronado, if you know nothing about cars, you know that's an American car. It's big, it's imposing, it's got an engine way larger than it needs to be.
That's right.
Not particularly efficient, but fast and powerful, all that kind of stuff.
And the styling. Styling, fantastic.
Bugatti used to say Bentley drove the fastest trucks in Europe because they were big. But again, they were meant to last a long race.
That's right.
These are like half the weight and half the size. And it was just fun to see those kind of cars compete against one another. But it's just wonderful to drive. Makes all the right noises.
So this is a little 4-cylinder inline 4, right?
Yeah.
A liter and a half.
Right.
So it's essentially half of an 8.
Half of the 8. Yeah, that's kind of the way it worked. Yeah. 3 valves per cylinder. Yeah, wonderful cars to drive. Makes all the right noises. They rev. Yeah, it was just almost a perfect race car, and easy to work on. And the Type 37 was sort of the boy racer version of the Type 35.
Mhm.
You know, it's meant to for the guy just getting into racing or something of that nature. You know, these two here, although they're not Bugattis, they are Persangs. These are built in Argentina, and they do a wonderful job.
They've been making these for a while, haven't they?
A long time. And the nice thing is, it's a replica in the truest sense of the word. It's not. It doesn't look like a Bugatti with a Pinto engine and a Chevy rear end.
I remember those.
Yeah. But no, it's done exactly the way they did it back in the day. And it's super, and they make their own soup. They do everything. They cast every part.
There's some real jewelry, and this is all done in Argentina.
All done in Argentina. It's interesting because in Argentina you can't import anything.
That's right. The taxation is huge.
You have to make
things.
You have to make your. It's to encourage the population to do it themselves. So they make their own tires. I mean, everything.
Really?
Yeah, everything. Yeah, you can't import anything. But they make the molds and they cast it, and there you go. The only modern thing is maybe this electric fan I have on here, because it's Los Angeles. It gets hot, but Bugatti didn't like fans, didn't have them on.
I guess he figured he was going fast enough and never stopped.
Right.
Huh?
You know, when people complain about the brakes, I build them to go, not to stop.
That's right. That's what he said.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's all kind of stupid. You know,
well, they certainly won races. They certainly won races.
And this one over here, it's funny. I bought them from a guy who thought they were real Bugattis, so I got a deal on them.
Okay.
And as you can see, this is the 8-cylinder engine. It's, as you pointed out, is exactly twice as long as the 4-cylinder.
Boy, that is a real piece of art, huh?
Oh yeah, and it's fast. I mean, it's a lot of fun to drive. The only difference between this and a real one, it's a plain bearing instead of a roller bearing crank, which I prefer because of reliability
and all that. You don't want to be calling Argentina for parts every weekend.
But you know, it's great. They send them when you need them. You know, below the engine, they'll send you another engine. It's amazing. It's fine. Yeah, it's not bad.
So you'd rather be driving a replica if you're going to be actually in some historic motorsport.
Well, I like to drive it. I don't drive in competition. I'm not a race car driver. You know, I spend too much time getting them to run right. To take him to the track and blow him up to get a little plastic trophy. You know, I'm in show business. I get enough. That's fine.
Exactly.
I enjoy using them for their intended purpose, and they're all street legal, which is fun. You know, which makes it interesting.
Certainly, we've seen some videos of you driving these on the street, and it does look like just a hoot.
It's just that the French do everything different.
Well, you know, I wanted to ask you about that. They are really the original contrarians. I've had car designers tell me, you know, every car in the world, a German, English, American, Japanese car, they got a door handle, looks like a door handle. The French design a door handle and it looks like a shoe and it's on the roof. I mean, they do stuff that's just completely...
For example, on the French cars, you pull the light switch out to turn it off. In means the lights are on.
Yeah.
You know, they say that France was the birthplace of the automobile. Germany was the birthplace, France was the nursery. That was the idea. The Germans invented it, and then the French did the Panhard system of engine, transmission, rear end, all that kind of stuff. You know, before socialism, they built the greatest luxury cars, and then anything over 2.7 liter would be a crazy sale. They just built small cars. The luxury market disappeared.
That's right.
In fact, that one over there, the Tabalago, that's an example of what the French built at the time. I mean, that's 220 horsepower in 1952, which is quite
big power.
Powerful.
That was more powerful than the Jag XKs and any of that stuff.
And it's a fascinating motor too, I'll show you. But yeah, they're pretty easy to drive. Well, it depends. You know, if you haven't driven these kind of cars, you know, I think if you were born maybe after 1980, you're not used to.
Right.
You're so used to power brakes and power steering and all that kind of stuff. You know, I let one of my guys drive my Corvair, and he was amazed. It won't stop. But you just have to press harder.
Yeah, you do.
I mean, everything is.
That's right. It takes some work.
Yeah, it does take some work, but yeah, it all depends what you're used to. Yeah.
Well, back to Bugatti for a minute. We want to talk about these others because you've got some remarkable things here, and especially your 57 Atlantic and all that. That's got a story unto itself.
Well, the 57 Atlantic is all Bugatti, supercharged. It's a rebodied car. It's all aluminum and steel.
As opposed to magnesium or whatever the originals might have been made of.
The original was supposed, they never built one out of magnesium.
Oh, they were all aluminum.
See, the reason it's pinned like that is the car is supposed to be magnesium. Magnesium is hard to weld. It can be done, but it just catches fire.
Right,
Yeah. So the idea was pin it. And don't forget, Lindbergh had just flown the ocean, so everybody wanted airplane type.
That's right.
Airplane.
That's right. That's
like
right.
like Duesenbergs all have an altimeter on the dash. Why? But it is because it's it's an
Going up high speed,
dashboard. Yeah, it's like when the turbos. Remember, it's a turbo on the side of your
sure,
big
absolutely.
turbo. People, oh my gosh,
Right.
I mean, even do it to this day. I mean, nothing makes me laugh more than the electric Porsche turbo. And I hear young people go, "Yeah, it's got a turbo." No, it doesn't. It's electric. But
that was a mystery to me as well.
Yeah, yeah. But that thing, I would say, people say, "What's it like to drive?" It was incredibly fast at the time, but I think now it would be equivalent to a 65 260 Mustang with a 2-barrel.
That's certainly respectable.
Yeah, it'll 100 miles an hour. I mean, with the mechanical brakes, it's not really that good, but yeah.
Well, you want to think far ahead, huh?
Well, you don't stop so much as retard progress.
Okay, I get it.
But you can see the airplane influence here, even on the way the doors.
Oh, look at that. They fall right open.
Yeah, it's like a Ford Tri-Motor.
Absolutely. Now, this car, they only made 3 of them or 4 of them, didn't they?
Yeah, they only made 3 of them. They only made 3. I think about 45 still exist. It's one of those deals.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
that's
kind of
like Vermeers.
This is a Bugatti chassis, Bugatti engine, everything. It had a different Bugatti body on it, and it just rebodied this way. And I tell people that. I don't try to pass it off as the real thing. But in the other sense, it is a real thing because it drives exactly like the real thing. It even has mechanical brakes like the real one did. The next year, I think 38, they went to hydraulic brakes. So, and I drive this in LA traffic, and it's fun, and it looks great on the freeway. I mean, it's just interesting. You don't want to get hit in this thing. Oh my God!
Well, I imagine that would be a painful experience for everybody involved.
Yeah.
But certainly, I mean, when it comes to design, I mean, both the engineering and the technology was state of the art for the era.
Yeah.
But the body design, that was a whole Art Deco expression that
nobody
else was doing.
By Bugatti's son.
Right, Jean Bugatti?
Yeah, Jean Bugatti, yeah. This was his idea.
He certainly had a hand in some of the most iconic cars of the era.
Yeah. They're just so different than modern cars. Just so spindly. You drive a Bentley, and that's like a truck. I mean, it can pound on for 24 hours, Whereas this thing, you just it's very light. You feel it sort of dancing over the bumps and things. But they did quite well. I mean, they won all the races,
They did. And I guess the 57 was a pretty popular car. I understand they made about 800 chassis. And
yeah, something like that.
So there are enough around to actually achieve some critical mass.
Right. Yeah.
This little guy here is
Type 49.
very attractive. It's
it's interesting. And there's look at the wheels. I mean, the wheels.
Boy.
The interesting thing about Bugatti is the brake drum was in the wheel.
Right.
You bolted the whole thing on.
They look positively modern.
Yeah.
Like your
when people think these are modern wheels, it's because of the way but no, it's the thing. It's exactly the way it left the factory.
Bugatti was really into casting. I mean, and just some of the beautiful, intricate casting work.
Well, he came from a family of sculptors. His brother, Rembrandt, and the father was a sculptor, and he just did
furniture,
automobiles.
That's
and that one over there is a Type 40. That's a lot of fun. This would have been the boy racer one. This would have been your first Bugatti if you were a young guy and you made some money and you were a wealthy. Your father was a land baron or something. This is what he probably would have given you. But a lot of fun to drive. Just a nice car. Is
there kind of a relationship between? In other words, if you get behind the wheel of any of these, would you know it's a Bugatti?
Oh yeah,
it has its own.
So they're just because everything is different. Everything is odd. The shift pattern is different. Everything is different. We're just so used to standardized H pattern and everything. But this was it's kind of second is first. It's
like that light switch. It's all it's French. But obviously, these aren't the only French cars you've got here.
No, these are French. This is the Talbot logo.
Tell us about this Talbot, because that's a name that people know. I mean, they certainly know maybe the teardrop 150 SS from before the war, but they were doing stuff after the war, too.
Well, Anthony Lago, he was one of those fast-talking kind of guys, car guys, you know, that you had in the 20s and 30s. And he had the rights to the pre-selector transmission.
Okay.
And he teamed up. He teamed up with Talbot to produce this. This one has a Porte-Mousson gearbox in it, a 4-speed French one. It's a fascinating motor. It's a huge motor. It's a 4.5 liter 6.
Good heavens, look at that.
Well,
What
it looks like a twin cam. It is not.
I was going to say, it looks like twin cam
No, the
covers
cams
there.
are down the block, and the push rods go this way.
Okay.
Go this way. Yeah, it's interesting.
You have 3 big fat Webers on there.
Well, it's funny, even Mike Pierce, the Weber carburetor guy, he's never seen a set of these. And this thing just eats, oh my God, eats gas. Yeah.
I'm sure it does.
But it's quite fast. I mean, it's really good. It's really good. And as I said, I think it's one of the only ones left with a manual gearbox. And this is really 1930s coach building.
Mm-hmm.
These doors are all wood.
Are they really?
It's all wood inside.
And skinned with skinned with
That's why so many of them didn't make it. But this is an original car.
Uh-huh.
Nick Begovich was the guy I got this from. Nick was an interesting guy. He was an engineer. He went to France to buy a teardrop. Couldn't get a teardrop. Found this, bought it, flew it home, went to the DMV, got a 1-trip permit, drove it from the airport to his garage in Orange County, and it sat there till I pulled it out 60 years later. But as I said, it's the only one left that still has the original bumpers.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, very expensive car to repair or restore because of all the coach work in it. But,
now, of course, a car like this, you're never going to restore this. This is too original,
yeah,
right?
And I drive it exactly the way it is. So it's pretty nice.
I bet it makes a nice racket.
Yeah, and then the Citroen SM, which is, it's interesting.
These are fascinating cars. Kind of an answer to a question nobody asked, but
well,
man,
listen, you go everywhere else in Europe, England, Germany, Spain, it's 4mm, 6mm, 8mm, 10. You go to France, it's 5mm, 7mm, 9mm. It's just different.
Yeah.
German cars are built in Munich or Stuttgart, America in Detroit, Modena, big dirty cities.
Yeah.
French cars are built in Paris.
That's amazing, isn't it?
In the city of light.
Yeah.
So there's this is still one of the most amazing cars. That's, of course, the DS came out in 55.
The DS might be the most revolutionary car in history
I think
in some ways.
And when you realize, it's so funny, when they show movies about the future, they always have one of these in because it's what people think the future will look like. And,
And it was so futuristic. I mean, it did things cars shouldn't even do. I mean, there's the old story about President de Gaulle surviving an assassination attempt.
Yeah, they blew out the front tire. And he was able to lift the suspension and drive it with the wheel in the air.
Amazing.
And de Gaulle made it the official car of France because it saved his life. But this thing is fascinating. It is the greatest rain car I've ever driven because when you hit the brakes, the rear end comes down, not the front. So it's like a boat. It goes, it stops like this. It's got the air suspension. The CD on it is amazing. In the rain, you rarely need to turn the wipers on because water just goes off.
The aerodynamics.
The aerodynamics. Yeah, it's a fascinating thing. It's really an interesting car.
And of course, it's got a surprise under the hood, too.
Yeah, well, this has the Maserati engine. That was supposed to have, the DS was supposed to have a flat 6. But by the time they got through with the fiberglass roof and all the air suspension, they were out of money. They just couldn't. So they had to put the old tried and true 4-cylinder in. They even, by 71, it had fuel injection and a few other things. They had a few more.
Try to hop it up a little bit, yeah.
This was the Maserati V6. And this car was designed for people always the V8 with 2 cylinders cut off. No, not really. Not really. A little more complicated than that. But
that's right.
Wonderful car to drive. The best transmission. The best shifting car I've ever driven. Yeah, it really is nice.
Remarkable things. And they certainly didn't do well in America because nobody knew what to do with them. But,
Motor Trend made it Car of the Year. And then when the editor of Motor Trend found out the French don't advertise, he got fired. I mean, it was Car of the Year. It was an amazing car.
Yeah.
But, the French really didn't care about the dealerships or anything. If you owned a Shell station, you wanted to be a Citroen. Give it a franchise.
Right.
I know nobody stocked parts, and I mean, it's a shame. It's just a different. It's just very French. It's hilarious.
French cars never really made it in America. I mean, the Italians had enough of a trouble on their own, but the French, they were doomed from the beginning almost. Peugeots and Citroens and Renaults.
And wonderful cars.
Yeah, Simcas, whatever.
Yeah. Wonderful. See, this has the turning headlights in the front.
That's right.
Just all that stuff. They had the first composite wheel and the first plastic wheel. Those are not them, but there's a set of them floating around. I'm just leery to put them on because 50-year-old plastic. I'm not sure what.
Right. It's
Tensile
kind of like
strength.
old magnesium.
Yeah,
You want
yeah,
to be careful.
exactly.
This is really quite a tour through France. Really quite a tour.
Well, these are interesting. This is a great car. I got a few of these Panards. You know, they're like rabbits. You buy one and then suddenly have 2 or 3 more in the
Well,
garage.
somebody probably figures out that here's one guy who actually wants these things.
Well,
and,
here's what's interesting.
look at that. Good heavens.
All right, what you have here,
Please do tell me, because I have no idea.
850cc twin.
Okay.
Top speed, 94 miles an hour.
No kidding?
Torsion bar springs. This thing just revs all day. It's half the displacement of a Volkswagen
Mm-hmm.
with twice the power. Instead of 36 horsepower, it's like 60.
How
And
is
it's
that
really
even
quick.
possible? That's
Yeah.
incredible.
And the cool thing is, the engine, you see the rubber mounts?
Yeah.
When you want to work on it, you just unbolt, you take the engine out, you put it on your work stand, and you fix it. And it revs just it's so much fun to drive. Just ring, just revs all day long. And they're just fascinating. But as you can see, it's a brilliant design.
Oh, that's incredible. Look at this beautiful cast.
Yeah, you see the fan
Flame
here?
engine cool.
It's air cooled.
Yeah.
But you see, the engine is rubber mounted. And here's the here's the really funny part. It's mounted to the exhaust system.
So
You
the
see that?
exhaust actually goes through. Unbelievable.
The exhaust is your engine mount. Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah, but these
Like a pair of
are
vortices.
fabulous cars. Just wonderful. I mean, they're so much fun to drive. I mean, the Volkswagen is nice, but this is the Tiger model, Tiger.
Oh, okay.
And the top speed was 94 miles an hour.
That's impressive.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
It's also pretty aerodynamic, so I'm sure that helps.
Well, the interesting thing is when they first came out, they were all aluminum. And they were really fast because they were light. And then Korean War, blah, 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 aluminum got too expensive. They just went to steel. Yeah. But the aluminum ones are the ones to have because they don't weigh anything.
Boy, and you get 4 doors too.
And yeah,
It's actually a real. This was a real sedan.
This is a Panhard Dynamique. Now, the interesting thing about this is you sit in the middle. See the steering wheel?
That's right. I did a story on one of these recently, and it's an amazing concept.
Well, I have an ad from the period, and the guy's driving with a big smile on his face. His mistress is on one side smoking, and his wife's on the other side fuming. And he's got the two of them, and he's very French.
Oh, that's great.
He's got these Gallo cigarettes, and hilarious.
That's great. Oh, the little windows so you can see out of the A-pillar.
Yeah. And the traction avant right there.
Well, this is a car you see a lot of because I guess they did bring some of them over here, and they were very popular.
They did. This was the gangster car. The first, everybody thinks Accord's the first front-wheel drive. This is out before that. And this is the 6-cylinder model. So it's a little faster, a little more powerful. Yeah. And this is Jean-Paul Belmondo would drive these when he played a dashing bank robber or something, you know. But they're fabulous cars to drive.
It's a real, it's got that classic French look. And, yeah, absolutely incredible.
And you've also seen an interesting one, the one you walk right by there, the Fraser Nash.
Oh, yeah.
That's a chain gang. Are you familiar with that?
No.
There's no transmission. The transmission is like a 10-speed bike. You got chains and this was the fastest accelerating car of 1934, at least in England.
Good heavens.
It's a 6-cylinder. Look at this engine. If this said Porsche on it, it would be $1 gazillion more. This is the Blackburn twin cam, 3 carburetors, 1750cc, really fast. And you shift without the clutch. You just slam shift, bang, 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 bang.
No kidding.
If you look underneath, you see the chains.
That was definitely an anachronistic way of doing things.
Well,
but it worked.
It worked, yeah. You just went through it. Yeah.
What a beautiful, beautiful car.
I like that era when cars had more of a national character.
Right.
You know, I remember when I was in Germany once, I was on the Autobahn, they let me take a Corvette, and I could go 170 and everybody else was 155 because of the voluntary.
Sure.
Yeah, you know. And people, when you pull into a town, the kids would go, nah, Corvette, it was like a Ferrari.
They'd heard about them, but never really seen one.
Yeah. But I remember going through a German town, and there was a 11th century clock here and a 14th century clock. And at 12 o'clock, they went bong, bong. And I remember they both chimed at the same time, exactly.
That's German.
Yeah, then I pull into Italy. The hand is like this, going like this, bong, bong. It's just gonging and the other clock is like 4 o'clock, and the two clocks, neither clock had the correct time. It just made me laugh. Just made me laugh.
Well, that's kind of the charm of not just the places, but the cars too. You know, they do all have their idiosyncrasies. Deciding on the first car for your collection is a big decision, but this would be a great place to start. Built between 1992 and 1995, a joint project between Mercedes-Benz and Porsche was called the 500e. The 500e, later rebadged the E500, offered a 322 horsepower multicam V8 engine and a popular midsize sedan that had been the domain of 6-cylinder engines for years. More than just an engine swap, the 500e had subtly flared fenders, a lowered and modified suspension, big brakes, and thickly bolstered bucket seats for the front passengers, all wrapped up in a chassis that some consider one of the most solid on the road at the time. For the privilege of driving this stealthy 4-door sports car, expect to find one from about $45,000 to $85,000. Thanks for listening. On my next episode, I sit down with Joseph DeMeo. Cars That Matter is a Kurtco Media production. I'm your host, Robert Ross. The show is produced by Bill Curtis and Stuart Halpern, with audio and video production by Ness Smith-Sabadoff, and additional support from Melody Larson, Lindsay Davis, Deborah Smith, and AJ Mosley. To listen to more episodes of Cars That Matter, follow us on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you like this episode, be sure to rate us 5 stars to help other listeners discover the show. For exclusive video episodes, visit hemmings.com/cars that matter.
From Kurtco Media.